Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. I'm Kaylee,
And I'm Sabrina.
and we're the co-chairs for the Take Action Institute, and we're here to introduce our fellow speakers. So for 27 years, Jeff Shope had been a member of the NSM, National Socialist Movement, the largest neo-Nazi organization in the United States. For 25 of those 27 years, he was the leader of the NSM, spreading racism and anti-Semitism across the country. Today, he travels the country repairing the damage he had done in his previous life and encouraging and helping others he helped to recruit get out of the white supremacist movement and do the same.
Scott Shepherd was born and raised in Indianola, Mississippi, not only the birthplace of blues legend B.B. King, but also the birthplace of White Citizens Council, the white-collar executive branch of the Ku Klux Klan. He joined the Klan and rose through the ranks to Grand Dragon, state leader, in one group an Imperial Wizard, national leader, and in another KKK group. His godfather was Klan member Byron Della Beckwith, who murdered civil rights leaders Medgar Evers. His associates were the KKK murderers of the three civil rights workers, Goodman, Cheney, and Schwerner, and Carolyn Bryant, the woman who sent Emmett Till, the black teenager, to his death for allegedly whistling at her.
What these two gentlemen have in common is a black musician and race reconciliator named Daryl Davis, who became their friend and was instrumental in their decision to not only renounce their white supremacist ideology, but to also devote their lives to de-radicalizing those still in racist and anti-Semitic movements and prevent others from joining.
Please welcome Jeff Shope, Scott Shepherd, and rock and roll race reconciliator Daryl Davis to share their stories and answer your questions.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you all very much. Well, it's a real pleasure to be here. I want to thank the Take Action Group for coming here today, and the Orlando Holocaust Education Center, and of course the Orlando JCC for hosting us here in this auditorium. So thank you all very much. I'll give you a little bit of background on myself so you'll have an idea of where I'm coming from and why I feel so honored here today to talk with my two brothers here, Jeff Scoop and Scott Shepherd. I just turned 64 years of age this past weekend. So there was a time when I was young, like everybody I see in this room. And we're gonna go way back when I was like real young. My parents were in the U.S. Foreign Service, which means I grew up as an American citizen, living all around the world. I was born in 1958 and began traveling the world in 1961 at the age of 3. And between my childhood travels, you go to a foreign country, you're there for 2 years, and you come back home here to the States. You're here for a few months or a year if you request it, and then you're back overseas. Turned off here? Yes, sir. Okay. You're back overseas again for 2 years, and then you go back to another foreign country abroad. So back and forth, back and forth. My first exposure to school was overseas. I first went over at the age of 3. I did kindergarten, first grade, third grade, fifth grade, seventh grade, all in different countries. And my classes overseas, we're talking about the 1960s, my classes overseas were filled with kids from all over the world. Nigeria, Ghana, Japan, Russia, Czechoslovakia, France, Germany, Italy, Switzerland. Whoever had an embassy in those countries, all of their children went to the same school. So because that was my first exposure to school, that became my baseline. That's what I thought the norm was in school. However, every time I would come home back here to my own country, the US, I was in either all black schools or black and white schools, meaning the still segregated or the newly integrated. And there was not the amount of diversity in my classroom that I had overseas. It was just black kids and white kids, and that was it. And so I couldn't understand that lack of diversity because my norm was overseas. So when I was living overseas, I was literally living maybe 10 years ahead of my time because that multicultural environment had yet to come to this country. Of course, it's here now. You walk into a classroom in any major city, people are from all over. But we did not have that back in the early 60s. Now, one time I came back, I was in fourth grade at the age of 10. And I was one of two black children in the entire school. Myself in fourth grade and a little black girl in second grade. So consequently, all of my friends were like fourth and fifth graders. So therefore they all were white. And several of my guy friends were members of the Cub Scouts. They invited me to join, so I joined the Cub Scouts. I was the only Black Scout anywhere in the area. And we had a parade with other organizations, the Girl Scouts, the Brownies, the Boy Scouts, the 4-H Club, and different organizations. I was the only black participant participating in this march. The streets were blocked off, the sidewalks were lined with nothing but white people, waving and cheering and having a good time, until we got to a certain point along this parade route, when suddenly I was getting hit with bottles and soda pop cans and small debris from the street by just a small group of white spectators off to my right on the sidewalk. It wasn't everybody, just 4 or 5 people. I remember there being a couple kids who may have been a year or two older than me, a couple of adults who were throwing these things. And because I had no precedent for this, my first thought was, oh, those people over there, they don't like the Scouts. That's how naive I was. It wasn't until my den mother, my cub master, my troop leader all came rushing back and covered me with their bodies and escorted me out of the danger that I realized I was the only Scout getting hit. And now I'm wondering, what had I done? I didn't say anything to those people. I didn't do anything. And so I kept asking these people, why are they doing this to me? Why are they doing this to me? All they would do is kind of shush me and rush me along, telling me, keep moving, everything's gonna be okay. They never answered my question. At the end of the day, when the parade was over, I went home. And my mom and dad, who were not present at the parade, were cleaning me up and putting Band-Aids on me and asking me, how did you trip and fall down and get all scraped up? And I told them, I didn't fall down. I told them exactly what had happened to me. And for the first time in my life, my mom and dad sat me down and explained to me what racism was. Now, believe it or not, at the age of 10, I had never even heard the word racism. That did not exist in my sphere. I was around people from all over the world. We all got along. Maybe we didn't look alike, maybe we didn't speak the same language or worship alike, but we all got along. We worked together, went to school together, played together, had slumber parties. Racism just did not exist. And I didn't have big brothers and sisters to learn things from. I'm an only child. My folks got it right the first time, you understand? So anyway, my parents never lied to me. They always told me the truth. If I had a problem or a question, they gave me the solution or the answer, or gave me the tools by which I could derive the solution or the answer. And when they were telling me that this thing was true, for the first time in my life, I did not believe them. I didn't know why my parents were lying to me, but it made no sense because my 10-year-old brain could not process the idea that someone who had never laid eyes on me, who had never spoken to me, would want to inflict pain upon me for no other reason than the color of my skin. That just made no sense. And the people who were doing this did not look any different to me than my friends in school, right there here in this country, or my little French friends, or German friends, or Swedish friends, or Australian friends overseas. So my parents, they were wrong about this. And I didn't believe them. Thank you. Okay. And so about a month and a half, 2 months later, Martin Luther King was assassinated the same year, April 4th, 1968. I remember it very clearly. And every major city in this country burned to the ground with destruction and violence, all in the name of this new word I had learned a couple months back called racism. And then I realized my parents had not lied to me. They had told me the truth. So now I understood this phenomenon called racism does exist. But what I did not understand is why. Why does it exist? So at that age of 10, I formed a question in my mind, which was, how can you hate me when you don't even know me? And for the next 54 years, I've been looking for the answer to that question. Now, as an adult, as a kid, I graduated high school, of course. I went to college and got my degree in music. And professionally, I'm a musician, a performer, an entertainer. And once again, as an adult, I travel around the world performing concerts. So when you combine my childhood travels with my mom and dad and my adulthood travels on my own, I have now been in a total of 61 countries on 6 continents. I have performed in all 50 states. All that is to say is that I have been exposed to a multitude of different skin colors, ethnicities, religions, cultures, ideologies, belief systems, etc. And all of that has helped shape who I've become today. And I can tell you something, no matter how far I've gone from this country, my own country, the US, whether it's right next door to Canada or right next door to Mexico or halfway around the globe, no matter how different the people may be who I encounter, I always conclude one thing, that we all are human beings. And as such, we all want these same 5 basic core values in our lives. Everybody wants to be loved. Everybody wants to be respected. We all want to be heard. We all want to be treated fairly. And we all want the same things for our family as anybody else wants for their family. And if we can learn to apply those 5 core values or any of those 5 values when we find ourselves in an adversarial situation or in a society or culture in which we are unfamiliar, I can guarantee you that our navigation will be a lot more smooth and a lot more positive. And that goes for anything and everything. It doesn't just have to be about race. It could be about anything controversial. In fact, for a moment, let's take race off the table. We have a lot of other hot topics in this country. Let's say abortion, nuclear weapons, global warming, the last presidential election, the war in the Middle East, the current war between Russia and Ukraine. We all have our opinions. You're on one side, somebody else is on the other side. Apply those principles, and that's how you have a civil dialogue. You will learn something, they will learn something from you. Even if you don't agree, it's important that we have a civil dialogue and explore other possibilities. That's how we learn, and that's how we grow. All the travel I've done does not make me a better human being than anybody else, but what it does is it's given me a better perspective of humanity and allowed me to glean information from people of different walks of life and be able to apply it in my own country. And that's what has led to my success in members of the Ku Klux Klan and neo-Nazi organizations and other racists to leave and give up that ideology. And I'm pleased to present, my 2 brothers right here, Jeff Scoop and Scott Shepard, as 2 examples of that. And that's what I do, to make a living as well. Between playing gigs and speaking, is traveling around talking to people. My favorite quote in the world is by Mark Twain. It's called the travel quote. And Mark Twain said, "Travel is fatal to prejudice, bigotry, and narrow-mindedness. And many of our people need it sorely on these accounts. Broad, wholesome, charitable views of men and things cannot be acquired by vegetating in one little corner of the earth all one's lifetime." And that is so true. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jeff Scoop here.